It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Asta.
It's car con carne here in quarantine, still sheltering in place at the end of August. Quarantine Con Carne, sponsored today by C&H Financial Services. C&H offers a variety of products ranging from traditional merchant accounts to a zero-cost payment processing solution, which eliminates expenses tied to accepting credit cards. C&H also offers cost-effective commercial lending programs, which can help you get your business the money it needs to make it through these unprecedented times. To learn more, contact C&H Financial Services at 855-600-2437 or go to chfs.us. My guest right now, it is Matt Pais. He is an author, he is a writer, he is a longtime Chicagoan, and his new book comes out today. It's out today. Zach Morris lied 329 times, reassessing every ridiculous episode of Saved by the Bell with stats. This is like a crazy, quixotic mission you underwent, going through every episode of Saved by the Bell. It's not something you'd normally think an adult would sit down and do during the pandemic, but here we are.
Well, I take that as a compliment, James. And you're right. It was definitely a mission. It was the sort of idea that once it pops into your head, it's sort of just like, I have to do this. I need to know how many times Zach Morris lied, because it was a lot, clearly.
Saved by the Bell, clinically, objectively speaking, not a great TV show.
Well, that was sort of part of my motivation for wanting to do this, because I watched it so much as a kid, as so many people did, but I feel like it has this weird qualification of a show that's really beloved. But if you ask a lot of those people if they thought it was good, they'd probably be like, nah, not really, but I love it anyways. So it was trying to understand why, like, what worked at the time and how that holds up. But if I can reveal this, James, you never watched it at all. No. Is that right?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't really watch much TV, period, through the 20th century. I just didn't. I wasn't one of those guys who had a TV in his bedroom. TV was just never my thing. I loved movies. I read lots of comic books and books and listened to a shitload of music. I never watched a lot of television. And I may have just been at that age where I was too old and too cool and too listening to Husker Du by the time Saved by the Bell came out, that it just didn't, I missed it.
So not having watched it, what was your sort of perception of this absurd cultural phenomenon that even 26 years after it went off the air, people are still talking about?
I mean, this strikes me as Nick Jr. or the Disney Channel before those things existed. All ages, family-friendly sitcom. That's what this is. No continuity, as you point out in the book. Every episode's pretty much a standalone. And my limited knowledge of it was Screech.
And that was there were a lot of things that jumped out at me going back to this and watching it for this project. Definitely one, I gotta say, this is not to say anything about the actors as people one way or the other. Dustin Diamond, very good comic timing. I don't think he ever got much credit.
Really?
But some things were funnier on that show than they ever even should have been because of him.
Now, you interviewed a bunch of the cast members for the show. Dustin Diamond, I'm sure you probably, that was your great white whale. You didn't get Dustin Diamond for the book.
Correct. Yes, I will decline to speculate one way or the other. I'm sure I'd be curious what anyone that I didn't talk to I'd be curious what they would have to say about the book and just this type of reevaluation of the show.
Like, if I were you, and I'm not Matt Pais, author of this new book that comes out today, I would have said, listen, Dustin Diamond, he hosted Gathering of the Juggalos. The least he could do is talk about his career on Saved by the Bell. If you've got him in front of ICP, he can do this. But I don't want to tell you your business.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you hacked my email and knew what type of pitch I was making the whole time.
So when you first brought this to my attention, I mean, my knowledge of Saved by the Bell is so limited that I didn't know the name Zach Morris. I I thought he was maybe a tobacco magnate or something like that. I didn't know. But that was another great white you weren't able to get for this one. How hard did you try
honestly,
for that?
When I started reaching out to people, I had no concept of who would and wouldn't be on board. So the fact that, I have an interview with Ed Alonzo, who played Max, who was in the opening credits in the first high school season. And I was able to speak with someone from the junior high episodes when the show was called Good Morning, Miss Bliss, a ton of people from when it was in the 4 years of high school, some folks that appeared in college, and representatives from both of the movies, Wine Style and Wedding in Las Vegas. So I wanted to make sure I could at least check all those boxes. I didn't think I was going to get all of the sort of the main cast necessarily, but one of the many things that I think is astonishing about the longevity of Saved by the Bell is there are just so many memorable supporting characters, whether it's some of the main character's parents or people who were even on just one episode. I mean, say the name Johnny Dakota to so many people of a certain age group, and he was on that was a character in one episode of Saved by the Bell, and so many people know about Johnny Dakota.
All right, so
I do have an interview with him in there.
Yes. I'll throw it back at you. What is it about this show? If it's not a great show, maybe from a writing perspective, what is it? Why does it endure? Why does something this campy still exist the way it does in people's minds and hearts?
I think you could probably argue that it was sort of the right thing at the right time. Whether it's because it's interesting, it didn't do a lot of the other things that certain shows that you might lump it in with do. If you think about a show like Boy Meets World, which that was on, Friday nights versus Saved by the Bell, which is on Saturday morning, that actually, it had continuity. It actually, you felt like the characters knew what happened in their own lives. But Saved by the Bell, it didn't have that experience. So even as fans built up this affinity, this love for all these characters, we knew a lot more about them than they even knew about themselves. There are like 3 consecutive episodes where it goes, Kelly can't sing, Kelly can sing, then Kelly can't sing again. It's like they were almost trying to upset people, but it didn't matter. People loved it anyways. I certainly did at the time.
Yeah, there's no continuity. I mean, you mentioned it early in the book. One of the seasons, maybe it was the first or second season, it starts with prom night. If we're talking about kids in school, that's not where you pick things up. You start in August or September. It's back to school. The
thing you have to recognize is that there was a dance every other week. There was a new girl in school every other day. I mean, they created their own universe, and I should reiterate, James, this book is a celebration. I did this book because I liked this show. I wanted to see how it would look, reevaluating it as an adult. And yeah, there are some things that look pretty bad, partly because times have changed a lot since the late 80s, early 90s, and partly because this was bad stuff even then.
Right.
But it's pretty interesting to put numbers to it and see when Zach was actually a little bit more honest and with whom he was more honest, and what that says about the relationships in a way that I gained new understanding of sort of why I like certain episodes, why one season was so much better than another. And certainly this is a book for Saved by the Bell fans. But I think this type of close look seems like something that there are just so many people out there who shockingly still care about it, myself included. So it was just a really fun thing to do.
And again, the book is Zach Morris lied 329 times, reassessing every ridiculous episode of Saved by the Bell with stats. Those stats, you break down stats after each season, and then at the end of the book, I mean, you really, here's something for the data nerds. I mean, you really parse through all the information. You break it all down. I kind of like the scientific approach you've taken to this. I mean, and you say from the beginning, I mean, you may not get it all right or you may miss something, but it's kind of fun. I mean, I'm sure it made going through the episodes a little more intensive for you. You were a little more focused on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's meant to be fun. I think I hope that it advances the conversation. Certainly, I'm not the first person to point out that Zach Morris is not the greatest person in the world. How many main characters from other TV shows have new shows made about them, about how they are trash? I mean, Zach Morris's trash has become an iconic show, and this sort of aims to take that exploration in a kind of the next step of that, to actually put some numbers to it.
Season 2, episode 3, the radio station episode. Zach is looking for a peephole in the girls' locker room. Not a good thing.
Peepholes seem to have been a popular plot device at a certain time in entertainment, and I think we all know how that should be perceived now.
Now, my ignorance to the show, I didn't realize the first season they were in Indiana, the one before it was called Saved by the Bell, and then they were just magically in Southern California when they kicked off the season after that.
Are you saying that you and two of your friends and your junior high principal didn't all move to the same place at the same time after 8th grade? I did. I mean, that's why I relate to the show so much. It's like watching my life on screen.
I do appreciate just they don't GAF, the willing dismissal of any kind of threads or continuity. Are there any character arcs in the show?
Yes and no. I mean, I think a lot of people probably, whether it's just like Ross and Rachel type thing, people think about Saved by the Bell, they think about Zach and Kelly. So it was one of the things I like best, I would say, about this project was looking closely at their relationship and discovering things about their dynamic that I had never seen so clearly before, and having the numbers about, both in terms of the commentary between them, what he says and doesn't say about her, and also just the way that he is often more honest with a couple other women that he had serious relationships with. That's where the numbers really became useful. And a lot of this book was about, I went in with a concept of I'm going to rewatch the whole series. I'm going to count how many lies, and I'm going to figure out how to analyze it. But then I said, okay, I need to track what percentage of episodes he is treating women badly. I'm going to track how many episodes the show is being negative towards Jessie, because when people think of Jessie Spano, she's the voice of morality most of the time. She's speaking up when Slater says something. A high percentage of his comments, Jessie says he's being a macho pig or something. She's the feminist voice. But then Zach or Slater say something, and there's a laugh track, and it's like, well, maybe that message didn't land when people get to make a joke out of it. So again, this is a celebration, but also you can like something and celebrate it while also trying to advance the conversation about it too.
A couple questions / comments on the Facebook Live. Someone says, dude, or Clarissa says, dude, I love this. I need this book. Available today, Amazon.com.
Wow, thank you. Mm-hmm. Appreciate it. Go for it.
Athena asked the question I should have asked from the get-go. How long did it take you to do this? How long did it take you to watch all these episodes?
So the process of watching the episodes themselves was about 6 months. And they're it's like 118 episodes exactly, I think. And then if you add 8, because the 2 movies are broken down into 4 episodes each on Hulu now. So I guess 126 episodes in 6 months. You start and then you keep going until you're done. And then a few extra months for, there are 24 interviews in the book. That's 22 cast members plus the co-founder of the Stay by the Max pop-up restaurant, which returned today actually, and carry out and delivery for Chicago, New York, and LA. And also I spoke with Dashiell Driscoll, the creator of Zach Morris's Trash, who's also hosting the new podcast, Zach to the Future, where Mark Paul Gosselaar is watching the series for the first time, and they're doing an episode of the podcast about every episode as they watch it and review it together. So it was great to talk to Dashiell since Zach Morris's Trash has just caught on so much, and certainly was in the back of my mind before I started that. So it was great to have his input on this type of study.
You mentioned an episode in here which kind of blew my mind, as we are in this heightened political season, and the DNC is wrapping up as we're recording this. The RNC is next week. There's an episode like a blind date dating game type scenario where the panelists are caricatures of Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger and Donald Trump. I forgot your exact language in the book, but it was something like OMG, if not OMG.
I tried not to write H too often, but sometimes you sort of had to scream, because even things that you vaguely remembered watching as a kid are going to play differently now, especially that.
Crazy. And
I mean, there's an episode where Zach runs for student council president.
Would that be
the election, lies, doesn't actually want to be the president. Jesse wants to be the president. She's far more qualified, and that's something to watch now.
Would that be episode 13, Running Zach?
No, it's just that one's just called The Election.
Got it. Well, okay, Running Zach is one. Here's what sucked me into your description. Ugh, I've been dreading this one. This, I think, speaks to your comment earlier about how some things didn't or don't play well now, and actually probably didn't play well back then either. Was this the one with Native Americans?
Yes. That was Zach finding out about his Native American heritage.
Some stuff just probably shouldn't be in the repeat or syndicated circuit.
Yeah, and so many episodes. It was really interesting to look at the ones that just sort of felt like outliers, because a lot of the times those wound up being fan favorites, I think. I mean, I still think about Mystery Weekend, the one where Lisa wins a prize from a radio station. They go to this mansion and they have to solve a murder mystery, and everyone thinks that Zach is the murderer. And shockingly enough, that is one of his, I don't think he doesn't lie in that episode at all. And that episode feels like almost a totally different series, because it doesn't take place at the high school. So much of the show is just like grounded into Bayside, that a lot of the times when they got out of there, whether it was Mystery Weekend or the Malibu Sands Beach Club episodes, it allowed us to sort of see different shades of the character. Even Saved by the Bell Hawaiian Style, the first TV movie, which has kind of a weird feel to it because it doesn't have a laugh track. And again, there's no continuity. So as new relationships form, it's like, isn't this awkward with Zach and Kelly? You guys have been dating on and off the entire time, and you guys are meeting new people. It's like, it's fine. Okay, great. More power to you. But the relationship between Zach and Rena Sofer's character in that is, I'll just say, it's surprising for a lot of reasons, and especially as part of a study like this of trying to evaluate what type of person he is and how his character arc or life sort of unfolded based on what the show forced on these people in a way. I write a lot about kind of what arguably would have been more interesting and satisfying to see develop. I think, name the sitcom, and by the time it gets to the end, I think a lot of times, whether it's Friends or How I Met Your Mother or something like that, people are like, maybe they should have wrapped it up a little sooner or chosen a few different ways to go. But, you got to bring the two main people just have to get together, clearly.
So you're spending 6 months going through each episode. What was the episode that you rewatched that made you say, well, yeah, this is it. This is why I'm writing this book. I love this episode. This is quintessential Saved by the Bell. I love this one. This is the one I hold up for all to see.
That's a great question, James. I mean, what comes to mind first is the drinking and driving episode, because, I mentioned that in the intro as one of the ones that sticks out to me as a kid of, when you're 11 years old or 10 years old or something, and you watch an episode of a show where the characters drink one beer and the next day they're like, oh, I feel awful, I'm never drinking again. You believe that? Maybe. Yeah. I did at the time. And the show, more often than not, didn't actually go for any type of moral lesson, clearly, because Zach is a pretty bad person most of the time, and he usually doesn't get away with it, but he also clearly just repeats himself almost every episode, and his friends don't bail. But the drinking and driving one is one of the very, very, very few episodes that actually has like a sobering ending. It's still a Saturday morning sitcom of sorts, but but it stands out as feeling like, because it's one of the most dishonest episodes of the entire series. But if you're willing to take a psychological lens to Saved by the Bell, it's not hard to sort of see Zach flailing and look at it as a good portrait of what's behind the bravado.
And for those who are just joining us on Facebook Live, the new book out today on Amazon. Zach Morris lied 329 times, reassessing every ridiculous episode of Saved by the Bell with stats. And oh yes, there are plenty of stats. You mentioned this. The worst of all were the college years,
which was sort of surprising to me because I remembered liking it at the time. I mean, Entertainment Weekly gave the college years an F. I still remember that when that was on. It lasted one season. It's almost surprising that the whole season even got to air, because the notion of bringing Saved by the Bell to primetime seemed absurd, and looking at it tonally, it didn't work. But I remember liking it for whatever reason. Again, maybe it's just you see something at the right point in your life to find it entertaining.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But going back to it and seeing Zach's behavior in those episodes and the ways that it steals from other episodes in the series, or all kinds of troubling things happen, it's sort of the scale of entertainment versus just appalling material is not in its favor.
Well, and you said it. Nostalgia is such a powerful thing. There's music I listen to that I know isn't great or doesn't really hold up in the present day, but because I listened to it at a certain time, it connected with me at certain moments. It will always it's elevated just because of those connections, those emotional moments that I relate them to. And the same is true of television episodes, for sure. So that makes perfect sense to me.
Definitely. And I think, I don't know about you, but I think sometimes it can be hard to be objective about that material because you don't want to look at something that meant so much to you at an early age and then say, oh, that actually isn't good, or why did I like that? If I would have stumbled upon like a journal where I had written about my feelings about every Saved by the Bell episode when I was a kid, when I was watching it then, that would have been helpful, because then that would have told me, like, what did I like about this at the time? How can I cross-reference now versus then? But I'm sure all of us, especially in this time with, being at home so much, if you're watching the Mighty Ducks on Disney Plus or something, or, old Muppet movies, there's something refreshing about going back to something that you used to love and returning to it and say, I feel the exact same way about it now.
On that note,
Saved by the Bell is a little bit more complex than that in terms of feelings, but there's still stuff to like there for sure.
On that note, I can watch that first Muppet movie 1,000 more times. I've probably seen it 1,000 times today. To me, that still holds up. Fucking hate Doc Hopper, but I love that movie. It's interesting, there is passion. There's clearly passion behind Saved by the Bell. I mean, just some of the comments I'm seeing pouring in on Facebook Live. I mean, these people watched it from the beginning until the end. Athena follows up by saying, college years for Saved by the Bell was them trying to keep going when the show was over. It had its time. I mean, these people, let's see, there was another one. Zach got away with stuff because he was a cutie. That's from Clarissa.
That was something that came up in the interviews quite a few times, is just the degree to which the show is sort of almost unintentionally showcasing white male privilege, and especially for this attractive kid getting away with stuff. And the thing is, what's sort of astonishing, and what I'd love to hear from someone, I mean, if you ever sit down and watch the whole thing, you need to let me know what you think, because I would be curious how this strikes someone who had never seen it. There's such a difference between, being just kind of a rascal of a character, an anti-hero, and someone who is actively cruel. I mean, Zach is selfish and terrible and doing things that are actually hurtful and harmful, and it's played for laughs. And sometimes it winds up coming off innocent-ish, or innocent enough that you can still enjoy it. But I find it hard to believe that anyone could watch some of the things that he does now and not just truly be stunned that these episodes exist.
So as this book is out today, we have word that Saved by the Bell is getting new life on NBC's Peacock network. Here we go. The show's being rebooted. I would imagine in the present day, there will be continuity. I imagine it'll probably line up more with today's television writing and directing standards. But what do you know about it?
Yeah, I'd have to imagine. So, I mean, it's the showrunner is someone who was involved in 30 Rock. I think anyone who's watched the trailers has felt a little bit of a 30 Rock. It feels more like 30 Rock than the original Saved by the Bell. That's for sure. At least as far as the trailers go. You know, you can only judge so much on a minute-long clip, but of course they're making reference to Jesse's caffeine pill addiction. That's one of the most iconic episodes of the show by far, and other little things like that. I personally would hope that they wouldn't spend too much time nodding to the original stuff, because that, to me, that's just, you know, that's a reference, and that's like, yep, I remember, I watched the show. But it's like we don't need another hot tub time machine where it's just like, hey, in case you didn't know, it's the 80s. Can you tell? It's the 80s. Look how we're dressing. It's like, we know, people didn't walk around in 1985 and say, I can't believe it's 1985.
Yeah, a little fan service goes a long way.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, what I'm most interested in seeing for the reboot is how much they will sort of tweak the approach to the lovable character who is actually an awful friend and awful person. And I think, like you said, if they can just put a little bit of continuity there, which I think you can have a sense of humor about and sort of be just like, again, didn't we have this exact argument like last week?
Exactly.
Which, the writers will probably get slightly more creative with it than that. But I think there's probably a way to keep it playful, keep a degree of the spirit of the original, but also take a new approach to it. And especially, I mean, Dashiell Driscoll, the creator of Zach Morris's Trash, is a writer on the reboot. So you got to think that people like him will be able to really understand what did and didn't work with the original show, and make it something that won't upset the original fans, but also not stay too close to the original either.
The book is really fun to read. Again, I walked into it not as a fan, but I appreciate the almost slavish meticulousness with which you approach this topic, and the wide-eyed optimism of, I'm going to go through this and find out what's great about it. Again, I'm going to catalog everything. I'm going to really get into this Zach character and pick apart all of his misdeeds and near misdeeds. It's a fun book to read. It's even for non-fans. And I think that's the goal. I mean, the fans will be there. They're going to love that. They're going to eat this up because this is their world. But for people like me, it's a blast to read. It's just a good pop culture book.
I appreciate that, man. I think, the goal was to make it accessible for someone who didn't know anything, but also a really informative and useful, but also entertaining deep dive for people who knew everything. So yeah, that sounds great. I'm so glad that it worked for you, even though you didn't know anything about it. And now you can't wait to watch the whole series from the beginning.
Can't wait. Sign me up. Again, the book is Zach Morris lied 329 times, reassessing every ridiculous episode of Saved by the Bell with stats. That's Matt Pais. But before I let you go, because I know you as a pop culture junkie, I think anyone listening or watching gets that sense as well. Jumping off from Saved by the Bell, let's talk about TV. As we're recording this, we are still in the throes of COVID-19. We're still stuck at home all the time. Many of us have tapped out our Netflix, Hulu, Prime list, and we're starved for stuff to watch. Hit us with a recommendation of a show that you love that maybe we haven't seen.
Wow, great question. I don't know if I have any super obscure picks. During this period, I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like I think a lot of people have. I finally got into Unreal, which I'd always heard was good. There's a series on Netflix called Love on the Spectrum, which is a dating
I heard that's
show, good. For people on the autism spectrum, and it is really good. I'm a few episodes in, and we're really liking it.
See, this is why I asked. You are Matt Pais. We will support your book. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. I am going to stop the Facebook Live, but thank you, everyone, for joining us. That's Matt. Say goodbye to him.